Welcome everyone to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Tara.
Greetings, citizens. Am I supposed to be here for this? Maybe I should have been off screen.
Hey, we can record that. We can record the plate at the end, and but it's weird now you've actually mentioned that it's an idea, so I don't know if it'll play very well.
We always have some sort of invisible pun.
That's true.
Visual pun.
Yes. But it's usually Invisible Man, so for once you get to be the
That's
subject.
Right.
You get to be the Invisible
1940, one. It's about time.
We'll talk about how this film handles that. We're here, it's a science fiction movie podcast, of course. We talk about sci-fi movies every week, and probably like a year and a half ago now, we've really spread these out, but we did the original Invisible Man, and then like 6-7 months ago we did Invisible Man Returns. I think that's what it was called. It's been a while, I've forgotten, but this is the third film in the original Invisible Man series, which is The Invisible Woman, and it's from 1940. So we're going to talk about this, and we'll get into it. So here we are. It is a film that is completely disconnected. There is not a mention nor any continuity with the previous two films. Whereas because the second film, if I remember right, did have a little, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I think so.
At the very least,
the name of the person who invented the serum was the same.
At the very least, it felt like it was trying to be a similar film and be a sequel. Whereas this one, I think, very quickly it was very apparent that this is just more of a comedy through and through, with very little.
The horror. The horror.
With very little else. So we'll get into the hijinks of it in a little bit. I guess we'll start spoiler free, just in case, I don't imagine many people have seen this one as much. So we'll give you a basic premise, which is just that, and that's just something I noticed, is that it's called The Invisible Woman, and you're like, oh, this is kind of interesting, 1940, and they're actually switching over to a woman. Like, it's not a long film, it's like 72 minutes, as a lot of movies were in this era, but I did think it was funny how for the first 10 minutes, like, she's not, like, introduced, and all the main characters are men, and I thought, for a movie called The Invisible Woman, she really is quite invisible so far. like all I'm getting is all these men. We've got a rich playboy character, Richard,
Who talks about women.
he's a bit of a he's a playboy. He's got like we'll see, back in the day, he didn't have a phone where you could have lots of like photos of all your conquests, so he has like framed photos of every woman he slept with on his piano.
He has a headshot of all of them, all of his conquests.
You have his so he's like friends just randomly. It's almost like a slightly different, but in the same vein of Martin McFly and Doc Brown, and that he just happens to be friends with a crazy scientist, an inventor, who is trying to unlock the potential of invisibility. But the gimmick here being that he's quite rich, so he's constantly been giving him money without even asking what it's for. But his lawyer or accountant or someone is really mad at our rich playboy Richard, and says he has to stop giving money to people, and he has to like sell his house and all of his belongings because
all the women are taking money from him. He keeps getting married, and the women keep taking money from him.
Yes, he's got sued for $100,000, which in 1940, I mean, $100,000 is quite a lot to me still anyway, but in 1940, that's especially a lot of money.
Yes, when people work for $16.50 a week. Yes.
Yes, that was mentioned later on. So, yeah, but bizarrely, the premise of this film is that our scientist, Professor Gibbs, just puts an ad in the paper. Would anyone like to become invisible? And our heroine just really wants to try it and shows up to become invisible. There's a little bit of context in that she doesn't like her boss, but ultimately it's like, well, you don't really know if it's going to work, so your entire motivation is that you can get up to some mischief with your boss because he's a dick. That's the entire thing. And then as the movie goes on, we also introduce some villains where like a Mexican mobster wants to get back over the border, so he wants the invisibility technology so that he can sneak over the border. Like, I'm not gonna lie, if I have like one initial thought about the film to sort of say before we even get to like, did we like it or not, like, I'm not sure about this whole Mexican mob boss dude.
He's not Mexican. I think he's German. But he's hiding in Mexico.
Okay. See, I'll be honest. I thought this was someone who wasn't Mexican trying to do a bad accent. I feel a little bit better that the accent's actually something else. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he was ever meant to be Mexican. I think he's hiding out in Mexico, much like
fair enough.
Like, aren't there like famous Nazi officers that were like hiding in Argentina after World War II?
I mean, this isn't after World War II, but yeah.
No, this is beforehand. Well,
that's just during.
After a war. Oh yeah, right.
Tara's history is a bit shaky. Yes, 1940 was a year after World War II started, although it was before the US became involved in it.
Yeah.
So yes.
I think Canada was involved at that time, though.
I mean, if anything, a German who's hiding in a different country during this time, they probably are very. I mean, I don't know if they're necessarily anti-Nazi, but at the very least, they want nothing to do with it. Like, no, none for me. I'll be over here doing something else.
That's true. My family, because my family's Austrian and German, they immigrated to Canada before the war happened because they didn't like where the country was going.
Hey, history proved them right.
Yeah.
I mean, things got pretty rough there for a while, so clearly your ancestors. I mean, it feels a bit weird saying ancestors when it's only about 100 years ago, but
that's true.
But I mean, technically, you know, your great grandparents or whatever they were, yes, they were right. They're on the right side of history. But yeah, so that's a very goofy element to it. But and that's basically it. You know, there's the plot of the scientist trying to prove that he can really do it to the rich guy. Another main character is the Richard's butler, who's got a big comic relief character in the film as well. And that's your setup. You've got them, you've got the scientist trying to prove that he's done it, and then you've also got some mobsters trying to steal the technology in the off chance that it works so that this mob boss can cross back over into the States. I mean, okay. What a wacky plot. I mean, for a start, this film is working under the assumption that the crossing the border is that difficult that you need invisibility technology to pull it off, which is laughable for many reasons. I mean, even the wall's not stopping anyone.
Well,
I mean, yes, even the word wall is technically inaccurate, but I saw a great piece that ladders that cost $5 were being used to get over the wall. Like that's all it cost to like get over that hurdle. was a little wooden ladder that was $5. That's what got around the top security system that is the wall. It's almost like that was a waste of money. So.
Yeah. The wall refers to the civilian volunteer border patrol who are not racist.
Of course not. Why would...
Yes.
So, with all that out of the way, also the scientist, the inventor, Professor Gibbs, his maid, house lady, whatever her profession is, that's the witch from What's the Fuzz?
Yep.
So, that's a bit of trivia.
The Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah.
And a year after the movie came out.
She probably filmed this before that was out and was a big hit.
Yeah.
She probably filmed this not knowing that she was in something else that was going to be this huge, important, seminal film, which is interesting.
Yeah.
So, I guess I'll ask the question. Tara, did you enjoy The Invisible Woman?
Actually, I did kind of enjoy it. It was surprisingly kind of funny.
It's not bad. Here's the thing. I think it actually benefits in some ways more than the second one because it just decides to be its own thing. And not all the jokes land, and I definitely think the villain stuff is the weakest stuff in the movie.
Yeah, the butler stuff too kind of got a little tiresome.
It was funny early on. There's sort of a back and forth thing with him having to pack up all the belongings of the house and then unpack them and then pack. Every time he found out, he had to either pack them or unpack them again because he's doing it all on his own. Like I got a little bit of, I was getting something out of that.
Yeah, there's one stunt that his character does. I'm sure it's a stunt double. That's actually quite fun and impressive to watch.
Yeah,
goes up the ladder and like falls forward. that was a good stunt.
As a piece of stunt work, it was pretty funny to watch. So
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean, this is why we're saying it's a straight up slapstick comedy, because
Definitely.
nothing.
It opens with slapstick.
Nothing taking itself seriously would ever try to portray that moment as a genuine thing that happens. It doesn't work. Yeah, it's okay. Honestly, I think it benefits from just being a comedy, because I think the second film had higher highs, because there was definitely stuff towards the end of the second film that genuinely got quite good, and it felt like they were actually trying to advance what you could do with the idea of like a menacing invisible person.
I mean, yeah, people died in that one.
It got surprisingly brutal, but there was definitely a curve of like going through the motions until we got to that point where it was like, oh, we have to get there, so we're going through all the other beats of the film. This was smart in that it didn't have anything remotely the same plot. It was about, because there's not even a danger that she's going to be stuck invisible. There's nothing like that. It's all about the villains, and it's all about the budding romance of the rich playboy and the woman who's like kind of a fiery go-getter
Independent woman,
as much as you could have. And then you have a lot of reactions of the scientists, some of which are very dated, but they're kind of funny because they're that dated.
Yeah, that's true. And the henchmen of the guy who is hiding in Mexico are basically the Three Stooges, so much that they actually have a stooge there.
Yeah.
One of the Stooges. Yeah.
Yep. So there you go. Honestly, I think I'll just say spoilers from this point on. 'Cause I don't know what else to say without getting. I mean, there's not a lot to it really. Once you get into, I mean, I suppose we could talk about the effects and stuff like that, which I think for the most part, I mean, you can. I mean, yes, if you're watching it in high definition, which most people probably are now, you can see
the outline.
Well, I actually don't think the outline's a problem. I was going to say you see the occasional wires. I think the outline actually adds to the effect, because the outline makes you feel like there is something there, like. Because there's time.
Yeah, it doesn't really bother me at all, actually, for that reason.
Because there's times when, because I like what's to say that if someone made an invisible serum that there wouldn't be kind of a Ripley Predator effect. So the idea of having like a sort of outline of where the edge of the person is would be there. Because there's a couple of shots in the movie where there's like an object floating or something, right? And I thought that they'll just have a bit of string and they'll just be moving it. But then you could see the outline. I'm like, well, why have they even got the person there? Like, why do it this way? And I think it's because they realised that having that vague outline occasionally sort of like be seen in the light actually sort of sold the effect better, because it felt like, there's actually someone there doing it. There's a manipulation happening.
It's almost like a ghost effect.
Yeah.
I think the effects look pretty good. There, occasionally you can see like if the actress like crossed her gloves over like her skirt or something, you can see like the bit of black velvet that her arm was covering up. That happened a few times in the movie, but for the most part, like the effects are pretty good. The same, which has been consistent with the other films.
Yeah, definitely very good for the time period. I think. And I don't know if that was a sentiment at the time. Like, I wonder if at the time it was like, the effects weren't as good as the first one. They're kind of phoning it in now. And maybe it's just because we have such low expectations because it's 1940. So we were looking at it through this lens of, obviously effects got much better later, so we're kind of like giving it a lot of leeway, but
I certainly had that for the first movie, which was like 1933.
Yes,
it was surprising like how good the effects were for that, because they really had to get creative.
Oh, for sure.
And this one seems to be doing the same thing. I think they did that also with the black velvet.
Well,
against a background.
There's a moment in this where she picks up a cat, and I thought that moment was particularly impressive, because it's not like you can just put the cat on some strings. Like you have to have the cat being held.
Right. Yeah.
And it looked kind of good. You could see like the finger indents and stuff like on the fur, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, and some of the effects of like the furniture being sat on look good too.
Yeah, and I assume they just had like sort of special furniture made where they could pull it down from underneath to make it look like someone was sitting there.
Yeah, but it requires work. Like, there's a budget in this. Yeah,
and credit where credit's due. They do actually address like the idea that when she's invisible, she is actually naked. There are a few jokes made about that, and how Like, you know, at one point someone goes to like help her up, and then they realize, oh, I can't just put my hands down because you're naked. Like, you know, I may touch something by accident that I shouldn't be touching. So, you know, there's a little bit of that, which is fine. And dare I say, even one scene that I think is meant to be sexy, and like, there's a scene of her putting like her stockings on when she's invisible, and like, you know, we get the slow, like, the stocking get up the leg, and it's like, you know what? I think they got this is the sort of thing they probably wouldn't have done this way if they actually showed her, but because she's invisible, they get away with it because it's like an effect that it's just the legs and nothing else. Because obviously they can only be so risque in a movie from this time period.
Of course.
Because, you know, the Hays Code was that a thing.
It's interesting that she gets sexier as she puts more clothes on.
That's actually kind of a nice little almost joke in and of itself, yeah. Like, because she has no shape with no clothes on, that her putting on clothes is like, oh, there's a figure for me here. I can kind of see now like where things are. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny as a concept.
Oh, sure. I mean, the whole idea that like our playboy guy who his weakness is beautiful women is falling for a woman that he can't see, and is sort of a play on that as well anyway.
Yeah. And that shows though that he's actually attracted to who she is and not just how she looks. Even though he does spend a lot of time theorizing.
Talking about.
It's like
maybe it doesn't matter though. Maybe if she stayed invisible, he'd make it work. Who knows? Yeah. It'd be like her. Just, you know, falling in love with the voice and a personality.
I don't know. It's not exactly like her. There's still a physical person to touch.
Yeah, there's still some touch, but.
Well, I mean, maybe hard to find her at first, but once contact's made, I'm sure you'll find all the correct ports, as it were.
Okay.
I phrased that as nicely as I possibly could. Okay.
True.
All right.
I'm just gonna stop you right there.
Okay. I get it. Yes, we'll stop right here. I just got spoilers. We'll do all the dirtier stuff in spoilers. So.
So stick around.
I'll take this time to thank our Patreon producers, all you filthy invisible people, you all. Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Board Now, Ultra Isming, Christopher Moy. Did I say David Brown already? I don't think I did.
Yes.
I did? I said them in order then. This is your fault. You were laughing at my joke. I'll start again.
Did you say it? Okay, just go from the top.
Thank you to Tyler Hess, Cindy Palacios, David Short, Board Now, Al Tresman, Christopher Moy, David Brown, and Stanley. They are Patreon producers for the month, so thank you very much. Tara, why don't you tell them all a bit more about that Patreon?
If you enjoy our reviews, please check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/SmileyFuzzTV, and if you donate $1 per month, you will get access to bonus episodes of The Ace. And if you donate $5 per month, you will get access to these reviews one day early. And if you like our other shows, you can watch them a week early, and you get to vote. We do votes every month, and sometimes we review those votes. No, we do. We always do.
Review those votes sounds like we check the count. We're like, no.
The vote winners.
Yes, that is true. Yes, but just last week we did a vote winner, and I think either next week or the week after we're doing the next vote winner because we were a little bit late with that last one. So go check out Patreon, and also of course you can support us simply by hitting the like button or subscribe, ding the bell if you want the notifications and all that, and
leave a comment.
Yes. Rate us on the podcast app that you use. 5 stars.
Only 5 stars, please.
Yeah, nice little review. Something about how you know, one of us is so sexy, and then Tara's here too as well.
I am the invisible woman.
Look, it's a simple subversion joke, okay? We know all the thirsty nerds are going to say things about you. I'm flipping it, all right? I'm flipping it into gold.
Nobody says things about me. Don't start.
All the ladies out there who can't get enough of my machismo. I have machismo. I don't know why I said that. Machismo, the last thing I have.
I don't know if you're looking for anything from me here, but no.
No, I don't have machismo, or no, I'm not commenting on the
No,
machismo.
I mean, you're not Ricardo Montalban.
That's a good example. He is a person that I would describe
He
as
is
having
100% machismo.
Yes. For better or worse. I'm not even saying if machismo is a good thing or not necessarily, but that particular brand of character is machismo.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yes. All right. Well, with that said, full spoilers then for the Invisible Woman from this point on. So, we're introduced to her characters early on. Not the woman, she comes in like 10 minutes later. We're introduced to this weird setup where a very rich playboy is friends with a scientist and inventor who lives next door. And the wacky butler who's constantly, like, he's very loyal. He really cares about, being a good butler to
He comes from a long line of servants.
to Richard, but he's constantly wheezing and like talking about how demanding it is and reacting to being asked to pack the house up again and back again. Because that's one of the running jokes, is that basically they pack everything up because he has to move out, but then the professor's like, hey, you're going to be I'm going to pay you back every penny you've ever given. You're going to be a millionaire tomorrow because I'm going to test this invisibility thing and it's going to work. So he tells his butler to unpack everything again. We're staying. But then when the professor goes to show him his experiments worked, the Invisible Woman, Kitty, she's ran away because she wants to go do some mischief. So he just looks like a crazy guy. The professor, because he ends up on his hands and his knees, sort of looking around the floor, trying to like see if she's there.
Kitty, here, Kitty. I like that he keeps calling it because her name's Kitty.
Yes.
He keeps calling her, like calling for Kitty, and then the kitty cat shows up.
He's got a cat. The cat apparently was the first successful experiment. We don't get to see this, but apparently the cat. And all I could think was, how much chaos does an invisible cat cause?
It depends on what time you catch him. Like if the sun's out, he's going to be napping invisibly.
True. Hey, I've accidentally sat in a cat a few times when they're napping. When they're visible. I don't think being invisible is a good idea.
That's true.
So, yes. But like I say, he just puts an ad out. Because the other running joke is that he asked for $3,000 and then they have to tell him that he can't get it because he's got no money left. So he runs down to the newspaper office so that he can change his ad. All he does is score out the word where it says $3,000 and just says no instead. There will be no payment fee for this. This is just for the thrill of it.
Yep, for science.
And all the responses are all like, I'll
do it for money.
You can make my wife disappear if you want. I'll offer on a platter. That was one of them.
Men.
But sure enough, this woman says she will. She writes in, she gets her letter back, and we're introduced to Kitty, who goes to work. There's a random old Scottish woman who sort of like runs all the models, because they model dresses for the high clientele. And they've got a mean boss. That's the key part of this story, is that the boss is this dickhead who grills them constantly, threatens to fire them, tells the one who's got the sniffles not to like sneeze or cough in front of the customers, or she'll be fired. And then when they go out there and parade in their fancy dresses for the customers, one of the customers like sort of pulls at Kitty's dress and rips a part of it, and she sort of tells her to be careful. And then the woman gets really offended, and then the manager comes over and she's like, well, they ripped it. And it's like, no, the customer's always right, apologise. And all I could think was, but when she goes back and the dress is damaged, like, who's getting in trouble for it then? Like, is she effectively taking the blame here? She probably is, because this guy's a dickhead.
The customer is not always right. That's not like an actual thing that people in retail say. It's the thing that customers say.
Yeah. It's bullshit, because I would go as far to say that...
It's what Karens say.
I would go as far to say that more than half of customers are wrong. About many a thing.
Yeah.
Customers, by and large, are idiots.
It's true. As someone who has worked in retail for a long time, I mean, I haven't worked in retail in a while, but I could say that, yes. I mean, we all know that customers, they think they have power over you because you are giving them a service, therefore they're better than you because you want their money. But when you don't make commission or anything, like, who gives a shit? Like, I don't care if you buy anything.
Yes, they
Yeah.
want to be
The
impressed.
customer is not always right.
Yes, far from it. And what I didn't expect though, so she goes to see, and there is some of the jokes that sort of come to play here when the Wicked Witch goes down to tell the professor that, because he's expecting a man, he just saw the initial, he saw K and then whatever her last name is, so he's expecting a man, and when he says it's a woman, he turns around and goes, "What, you mean like skirts and stuff?"
Hold the phone. Experiment off.
Well, what I thought was funny though is his concern.
It's not that she can't do it because she's a woman. It's because she has to be naked.
Yeah, his concern quickly shifts to, well, we'll have to think of a way around this. We'll have to give like a screen so she can get unchanged behind it, and you'll have to be present the whole time. I don't want it to be accused of anything. I want a witness.
Yeah.
Like that's. I mean, it's still sexist because he's so like it's like such a drama, but. And he doesn't want he wants a witness there. Like, there's definitely sexist elements there, but it's like it's not just that he's being a pig as much as I thought it was.
It's not like she can't do it because the woman's brain is too small in order to handle the science experiment. It's just that it's the nudity part of it.
Yes, he's uncomfortable. Which is,
well, he doesn't have a lot of experience with women. He admits that later on.
I can't imagine why.
He's a nerd.
He's a crazy science nerd. On top of that, he's got giant beakers and test tubes.
He's consumed by his work. Yeah.
Yes. His love is his devices and his experiments and whatnot.
Plus, the only woman he really knows is the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah, that would turn most men off, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's a great actress, though. I really like her.
Dude, now I've said that, there's at least one asshole who like watched The Wizard of Oz and like got a fetish and is like, oh, I'm into this.
Green.
I'm into this. But sure enough, it works, and it only works for a few hours. But what I did not expect was the hijinks of what happens when she goes to back to her workplace, where we see that he's fired the woman with the cold. Did you predict that what she was going to do? Because obviously, okay, she's going to scare him by walking in a dress with no head and all that, and she scares all the customers there as well. But she goes in.
She models a dress with no head.
Yeah, and hands either.
She really hates her job. Yeah.
Oh, she despises it. She hates it. But she goes into his office and makes him go over. She makes him think it's the voice of his conscience, but she makes him go over to the window, traps his head in the window by putting the window down, and then starts to spank him. Mm-hmm. So, and keep this in mind here. She's invisible, so we have this actor just pretending this. He's pretending to be spanked while his head's stuck in the window, as the voice of the invisible person is shouting, "You've been naughty," this, and like, it gets really weird.
I think the point is she's trying to emasculate him, but it's coming off a bit like he could be into it. He's in a really good mood after.
Well, it's trying to play it that he's been scared straight, effectively, into being a nice person. So he's offering everyone breaks. He's saying, "Hey, you can, like,
take as much time off as you need."
Yeah, I'll be honest. It sends him so far in the other direction. I'm like, I feel like he's going to get walked all over now. I feel like this is actually too much power for the employees. Not that I'm taking his side or anything, but to the point where there's not going to be no clocking in, like. They're still employees. You still have to pay them for when they're working. I mean, that's not unreasonable.
Sure. But it's not like Amazon or anything where they're
yes.
they're so strict on the minutes.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
But to the point where when she calls him in later to like get the rest of the day off because the professor wants to do more tests, he just says, "Oh, I'll take the whole weekend off if you want." "Yeah, that's fine. You come in when you feel ready." I'm like, that's maybe a bit too far. And obviously you have to just sort of gloss over the fact that he'd probably recognize her voice.
Yeah, that's true.
But he doesn't, so you just have to accept that. But I mean, maybe he's just in too much shock. There's an invisible person like spanking him.
I mean, she says it's his conscience. Maybe he's like, I guess my conscience sounds like Kitty. Okay.
I guess so.
I've never heard it before.
I guess so.
I do like, after he's been nice to everybody, he sort of looks up like, is that good? Am I doing okay? Like, he is genuinely scared.
Oh, dear. But yeah, but they make him such a dick, so you'll enjoy his comeuppance. I just didn't expect it to be so... Like, I expected the invisibility to play more of a role in what she did to him, but after the initial shock value, it was being spanked while being trapped. The invisibility has nothing to do with that. Like, not really.
No, not really. I mean, she just has a power now. She has some sort of ability that she is. I mean, that's the whole reason she wanted to do it, right? Was just so that she can have a superpower. And get back at the people who have wronged her.
Although apparently later on she has super strength when she's invisible as well, which,
She does. I don't know the scene.
When she hits the guy in the head with a shotgun, the shotgun just bends.
Oh.
I mean, arguably maybe that's more his head's the superpower than her superpower. Both have to be particularly strong to pull that off. It's like the most nonsense thing ever.
I don't think I remember seeing that.
Yeah, it's later on.
Is that the part with the hammer? Where she's hammering everybody like a cartoon?
I think it's the start of that, yeah, before she gets the hammer, yeah, when she's like, it's the first few guys, like one of them she uses the shotgun on.
Maybe shotguns were just made of pudding back then.
Oh, dear. So, yeah, so she comes back, and while she's been gone, like, he's tried to show Richard that he's got an invisible person, and they can't find her. So, it's, I'm trying not to be distracted by this massive yawn. I'm trying my best.
I covered it up fully.
Oh, dear. So, but yes, while she's been out doing this, Richard thinks he's crazy, so he's decided they're going to go away. Although when he tells the butler to pack everything up again, I think this is where the butler does these, because he's walking up the stairs and the butler tries to follow him, but instead of walking up the stairs, he walks up the step ladder that's next to him. Mm-hmm. So he walks up like 4 steps of the step ladder and then just tumbles and does like a flip and lands on his back.
It's a crazy stunt. It's good.
It's a fun little beat. But he's like, no, we're going to the lodge. We're going to go fishing, even though the weather's terrible. So they go up there, but she agrees to take the rest of the day off so that she can go invisible again, because she does come back at this point. And the effect of her coming back is actually kind of alright. Like, she sort of fades back in, and then later on when she intentionally makes herself visible again, she sort of like fades again. Because it sets up this thing that after the second time he makes her invisible, because she drinks alcohol, it turns out alcohol now from this point forth will make her invisible, so she can't drink alcohol anymore.
Yeah, there's some sort of unexpected chemical reaction to the alcohol.
Which is a weird gimmick, but it's all just so that she can intentionally make herself invisible at the end when she used to save everyone.
Mm-hmm.
So, whatever, it's a mechanic. But there's a lot
and it explains like why everybody who goes invisible goes crazy. It's because they're drunk.
No, that's not a part of this. That's all gone. That's all been retconned. This is a new continuity. She doesn't go crazy at all being invisible.
I bet the Invisible Maniac's drunk.
That's not even part of this series. What are you talking about?
Of course it is. We'll have to review it one day.
That was
before we get to the Hollow Man we have to do.
That was the first bonus me and Tim ever did on streams. Are you saying you'd like us to redo it on the Ace because it still counts as sci-fi?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not against watching it again because I'll be honest, that movie's delightful.
I came all the way from Belgium for this.
Was it Belgium?
Yeah.
Was it Belgium? Okay.
I've watched it like 10 times.
Of course you have. Of course you have. I think you brought that movie up in every single Invisible Man or Woman review we've done.
Well, it's the most important of the series.
Uh-huh.
It's got a lot to say about ladies' butts, mostly.
I felt like I had a lot more to say about the boobs than it did the butts. There was a lot more ripping off shirts than there was.
The laughter is still, is consistent throughout all the Invisible films, though.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The cackling.
To get back to the Invisible Woman, though, they go to the lodge, right? So the professor drives up with her after she's been made invisible again, and she's got like she's got like the shawl over her face or whatever, and like they're going to go in, but for some reason he doesn't want anyone but Richard to know, so he doesn't want the butler to know that she's invisible. So we have this, and it's all just really just an excuse so we can have hijinks where she's like, picking up the wine glass and doing various other things.
Yeah, she's doing everything she can to make herself visible.
Yeah. And this is like winding the professor up, and he's trying to hide it and like claim that he's a ventriloquist and all sorts. And it's all
It's kind of funny.
It's all right. It's all just designed to make the butler think he's going insane, because he keeps spotting like these little things like here or there. And then eventually Richard comes in, and he sees it as well. And then from this point on, the actual chemistry between them is they kind of flirt, I guess, while she's invisible. But it's very confrontational at first, where she's like, you're a playboy, I know your type, blah, blah, blah.
It's like chat room flirting.
Yeah. He says that, you must be ugly, because no good-looking woman would want to become invisible, was his logic.
It's a chat room flirting. Yeah.
How's that chat room? What?
Where, old internet, where you had just like chat rooms to talk to people, and people would say things like that. And, you can see each other, so you had to describe. Did you not have these experiences? Admittedly, my chat room was World of Warcraft.
Yeah, I mean, I did spend a little time in a couple of chat rooms back when they were a thing, but keep in mind I was like 11, so I don't know how much flirting I was doing at the time.
I was 18, so it's okay for me.
Sure.
Should I not go into it anymore?
I think for the sake of everyone's...
I thought this was like an experience that everybody had. No?
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they did. Flirting in a chat room, I get. Flirting this way, with a specific type of... I bet you're ugly. Attitude is not what I expected.
Boys are on the internet.
It's like you don't want me to get through this movie. You keep pivoting me off into weird tangents.
I figured this would be a really short review.
I mean, it's probably still will be compared to normal, but you're doing your best. You're doing your best. So, yeah, the flirtations kind of start, but clearly he's interested. And there's a couple of key moments though, because when the first time that he mentions that the invisible person is a woman, he goes, "A woman?" And he has this moment, and then later on, when they're at the lodge and the professor's getting mad at her, he says, "Listen, young lady, you'll do this."
A young woman.
Yeah, he goes like, "Young." Young. He gets very.
He likes him young.
He gets more intrigued the more he hears about her, and then it becomes this weird thing where when they figure out how to like fix the invisibility, because she's meant to be like normal again in the morning, but she's not, and the reason for that is because she was drinking alcohol, and it's made it permanent. So, but the professor basically knows how to. He just has to like counteract the alcohol. That's basically all it is. But
yeah, he's got to make her some Clamato hangover medication.
But they have to get back to the lab to do that, right? So, but some of the other stuff, because one of the running things throughout the night is that she's naked, so she wants the fireplace on, even though it's like summer. Oh, the weather outside doesn't really imply that, to be honest. Like they're commenting on how it's pissing or rain, but whatever.
Rains. It rains when it's in the summer.
But during this time,
human cultures anyway.
Yeah.
Cultures, human areas, climates.
True, but they're near the Mexico border, are they not?
Yeah, but that could be like in Texas.
Sure, it doesn't strike me as Texas, but
it could be. I mean, it's likely the desert.
Yeah. I mean,
all right, fine. It's probably California.
Yeah, I was getting California vibes, but. Anyway, so this is where the sexy stocking scene happens, where she's sort of putting the stockings on and he's watching very intently. And he's like, "Oh, this is like a preview for the rest. Oh, you're actually, you're a woman. You're young. You seem to be in shape, given these legs." Like he's getting more interested.
Yeah.
But what they play with the romance at this point, though, is that when she's about to become visible again, she actually gets kind of nervous because he's seen her, but she's seen him, but he's not seen her. And she kind of compares it to like a weird blind date kind of feeling, like, what if he sees me now and he doesn't like me? Now she cares. Now she's like, she fully admits at this point that she's like kind of into him.
Or what if I'm not in his expectations? Yeah.
Yeah. But sure. So, but it's worth mentioning, whilst they were going to the lodge, because we've not even really mentioned the subplot with the villain yet, because it's mostly separate until the last like 15 minutes of the movie. Obviously they do come to the house to try and like worm their way in, and she, invisible, kind of like recognizes, like, hey, I saw them coming up, they had guns, you know, like these are crooks, and she sort of gets rid of them. But other than that, like, we see them like basically assault the guy at the newspaper office to get the address of whoever put the ad in, and then they come and dismantle the machine that was used to make her invisible. But the main henchman like basically notes down everything they do to dismantle it so they can rebuild it again in Mexico, which they just do. They just gloss over that worked, which sounds ridiculous if you didn't know what you were doing. And okay, sure, the main bad guy does have like a scientist there who presumably maybe has like an idea of things, but
he seems to know when it's ready.
Yes, but they don't have the serum, right? The serum is important. So apparently, because they test it on the main henchman, what it does to him, Foghorn, yes, because he has a deep voice, is that it makes him pretend that he's got a not deep voice. The actor just goes, "Yeah, boss. What do you want, boss?" He just puts on a voice.
But it's funny because he's Foghorn. He's known for, you know, having an intimidating deep voice.
I don't know if it's that funny.
It's not that funny, no.
I would go as far as say that most of the villain stuff is the stuff that falls flat.
I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah. I think the stuff with the scientist trying to show, you know, the playboy that he's done this, and then the woman's attitude to everything, like, I think their chemistry, like the three of them, and even the butler to an extent, like, all of them bouncing off of each other and the hijinks of like seeing it, not seeing it, discovering she's invisible, all of that's the stuff that's kind of fun, and that stuff is luckily a big part of the movie, so it
I would agree.
Works.
I would agree.
But
and I actually was really entertained during most of the first half of the movie, but like once the villain stuff, like once they go to Mexico, like that stuff is, I got kind of bored, and it's not a very long movie.
Yeah, well, because they need the serum, or they need something, so they come back and kidnap her, and the professor. They want the professor to make it all work. And I guess one thing I will say that I will give a genuine positive remark about this at the end of this movie is that it does play with this idea where she kind of like, so she drinks this like pure alcohol, which apparently this invisibility thing is also made because you know the bad guy even says like, that's like basically drinking TNT. What the hell? Like, this you can't just drink pure alcohol like this. But it turns her invisible, so that decent enough effect. She bonks them all in the head. She has a clown hammer. Yeah. That she uses. What I did like about this though is that when Playboy Richard does show up, right, with the butler, and he's getting ready to come in, and there is some jokes because she fires the turret at the ground to scare them, and the butler's like kind of like diving and like losing himself a little bit. But what I liked about this is she's like, you know what? Oh, he's come to save me, and she's already saved herself. She's not really a damsel. She's actually the one who saved everyone. So she's like, I'm going to make him work for it, and that's why she fires the gun at the ground to like sort of make him feel like he's actually in a dangerous situation. And then, you know, kind of mocks him a little bit when although he dives into like the little pond as if it's like a swimming pool.
I know.
And all that
looks so dangerous.
And I'm sure it's deeper than it looks because they had a stuntman do this, but all I could think was, that looks like it should have killed him. That looks like his neck should be broken.
Yeah, he should be paralyzed.
Yeah. So all I could think is that it's actually quite a deep pool that they're using for the stunt. But it's almost like...
But he stands up and it's like waist high water.
Yeah, what I think's happening here is that it's a cheat. Like, they've used deep water for the stunt, but they're still pretending that it's actually a shallow pond that's just like, because it's decorative. It's a decorative pond in like a fancy, you know...
It's like a fountain.
Yeah, like in a fancy like villa. So all I could think is they want to pretend that this is a pond, but then they've switched locations to a deep bit of water so that they can do this stunt. And then I'm like, but this doesn't make sense. Like, the character's neck should be broken because this thing's like 2 foot deep. Like, like he should be dead. The man should be dead or paralyzed.
Yeah, I thought about that too.
But that said, what I was saying is that it does flip this thing where, and I do think this is actually quite forward thinking for the 40s, or, you know, even just at the start of the 40s, which is, she says, no, I don't need to be saved, but I'm going to have some fun with him because he thinks he's here to save me. I appreciated that little swerve on things.
And we got that also with the this sort of a gender role reversal for a trope that we hate, which is the fainting, where it's done by a man in this movie.
Oh, the butler, keeps fainting.
Yeah. Oh. Oh dear.
No, that's true. And I think not to give this credit per se, well, kind of. This is to give this credit, but also sort of take, like, give less credit to other things. Is that this actually puts more time into sort of building up to why he might faint, because he keeps seeing little things build up to the point where it kind of crescendos. And that's kind of a critique in the sense that they thought, oh, we have to have more of a reason because it's a man. So it's still kind of maybe slightly guilty in that sense. But at the same time, on a broad sense, it's more believable that someone would faint with it crescendoing. It's just unfortunate that every other movie in the time period thought that a woman would faint for basically no reason.
They had fainting sofas.
Yes. Everyone faints.
I'm pretty sure it happened in The Invisible Man. Gloria Stewart, I think, faints more than once.
It definitely happened in a sequel. I remember talking about it. Because we've only done a few movies from this time period. Invisible Man movies and King Kong. Like, that's basically it. So, yes. And we've definitely talked about the fainting thing before. Probably at least twice. So,
yeah.
So, here we are. Yeah. And then there's it cuts ahead to like an epilogue sequence where they've had a child together.
Yeah, it really cuts ahead.
Yeah, they've got a newborn. Oh, actually, I should mention that he does kiss her when she's invisible. So there's like a scene of the actor.
It looks so funny.
He's pretending to kiss someone as if he's holding her in his arms in the pool, and it does look a little silly. But yeah, there are other times though where it works better. Like when they pick her up. So when they go to like pick her up and they go, oh shit, she's naked. We might touch something. So they put like a a blanket or whatever over her. And then they pick her up that way. And I think it's the butler who's like just holding the feet, but they're kind of sticking out of the blanket, so he's clearly just pretending.
Yeah, it looks good though. I like that scene.
Yeah, that was good. All that stuff was the fun stuff. But anyway, so the joke, which you can see coming a mile off at the end, is that the baby's going to end up going invisible. I didn't expect the trigger for it though, which is the rubbing alcohol.
Yeah.
That, given what they set up, given the rules they set up, that if she gets any alcohol, she'll go invisible. It was a neat little payoff.
Right. Apparently, if you have a child, you can apply it. I can't think of the word, but you can apply it to skin, and that also works.
Yes.
You don't have to ingest it.
Yes.
Which is good for a baby.
You can absorb it instead.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, they're going to have the baby drinking booze. That'd be a weird ending.
Right.
Weird, complicated.
Topically, you can apply it topically. That's the
word you're looking for.
I was searching for it.
Yeah. So the end of the movie is just the professor almost looks dead in the camera and goes, "Hereditary." And that comes up in the end. It's such a weird final moment to end on, but
yeah,
there it is. It's funny, we've done so many big movies that have been had so many themes and science fiction deep, that this is just such a light-hearted comedy that does, it does a couple of things to subvert the tropes of her rescuing herself and then sort of pretending she needs rescue just to make him feel like a hero, to make him look like an idiot, sort of challenge his machismo, as it were, to bring that word back into it. But it's a fairly straightforward light-hearted comedy with some goofy villains, when she beats the main bad guy, because the clown mallets for all the guys outside, the people inside, she bends the shotgun over one of them, she chloroforms another dude with a bowl on his head, and then the main bad guy, she makes back into one of the parts of the machine, which then electrocutes him. and we get the really cheesy electric
and
effects.
he goes into the invisible machine where he loses his voice also.
That's true. And then and this is right after he punches the main henchman who came to get the others, because he's like sort of betrayed him now because his voice is now stupid. The main bad guy punches him, and these are the worst looking punches I've ever seen in a movie. Like, they look really bad. There's like no contact. I mean, there's never contact really, but it looks particularly rough,
Right.
as far as, like, fake movie punches go. But he punches him in the neck, and that cures his voice. He has his deep voice back after that. So, there you go. I think that's everything. I think that's it. No, I mean, it's not just this, like, because I've talked for over an hour about a 40-minute episode of TV. It's not the runtime that makes this a shorter conversation. It's just a lighthearted comedy.
Yeah,
ultimately.
There's no deep themes going through here. The only themes that we really talk about are the ones that the movie wasn't planning to do, like subversion of gender roles and applying that to modern day films, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and the ending's a little intentional. Would you not give it a little credit?
Right. It may be a little.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit. I think, to its credit, it's fairly amusing. It's not a great movie. I don't think either of us would say that.
It was pretty fun though.
But it's very watchable. I think it benefits from not just trying to be the first movie again. And in some ways, I think it's easier to get through than the second movie because it just immediately feels different, so it can just have fun being a comedy. But the second film, I do think, has higher highs because it actually gets really interesting and brutal towards the end.
It does, yeah.
So I'd probably say
like coal mining area.
Yeah, I think I'd probably say I still like the second one more because I really appreciate what that did towards the end with the more violent and darker stuff that the Invisible Man does. But
this one was still pretty fun. I enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, I'm not going to rate it super highly, but so speaking of, what are you going to rate in The Invisible Woman out of 10?
I think it's worth watching. I was really expecting a turd of a film, and I think maybe because my expectations were so low, I really enjoyed it. And I like our lead character a lot. I think she looks a lot like Shelley. No, not Shelley Long. Is it Shelley Long who's in Cheers?
Yeah, Cheers.
Yeah. I think she looks a lot like her. And she was fun. So I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Okay. I'm in the same ballpark, I think. I would say, yeah, it's definitely over that halfway line. It's definitely in the enjoyable range, but it's not. Yeah, logically, I think I land in a 6.5. Maybe a 6. 6.5. 6. Well, let's go 6. Let's give it a straight 6. I think it's perfectly enjoyable and watchable, but does have faults, and isn't a must-see by any means, but it is what it is. So, there you go. So that wraps up the third film in the original Invisible Man series. The fourth one, which we'll get to in about, 6-7 months, given the rate we get through these. It's fine to have this one be a bit slower. These inherently aren't as interesting, I think, to the audience as some of the other franchises we work through, so this one can be a bit slower. But the fourth,
not like Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
But the fourth one in the franchise, coming up next time we get back to the series, is Invisible Agent. So it sounds like, again, it's doing something different. So
yeah,
we'll see how that goes. But it is worth mentioning that the person who did the special effects for 2 also did them for this one, although with a second person, but it's still them. And then that's it. So it's the person who did it from this one and the last one, John P. Fulton. He's back for the next 2. So the same person is doing the effects since the second one all the way through to the fourth one.
Hey, if it ain't broke.
Oh, it's the fifth one even. Sorry, second all the way through fifth. So.
Damn, how many of these are there?
5 or 6 if you count Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man.
Oh, absolutely. We gotta watch that one.
Sure.
Yes. Hey, eventually we're gonna run out of sci-fi movies. We gotta load up.
All right.
Take what we can get.
Yes, I'm looking forward to doing Invisible Maniac again. Then Abbott and Costello Meet the Invisible Man. But
Are we going to follow up with Hollow Man, or does that not count?
no, we should do it. We should do the Chevy Chase one as well.
I've seen that one.
I've never seen it, but the other ones that came in between, and then do Hollow Man. Oh yeah, we should do the whole. And I guess eventually we'll even do the 2020 one, which, as much as that was definitely a horror movie, and me and Tim did review that on streams, it's still sci-fi.
Absolutely.
So,
I want to watch that one. I love that film.
Yeah, it was great. It was such a. It basically solidified that Lee Wannell's like one of my favorite kind of B movie directors, because I think Insidious 3 was surprisingly good, which was his first directorial film, because he'd written stuff before then. And then he did Upgrade, which I thought was not perfect, rough around the edges, but definitely had a lot of good action and like ideas in it. And then
Is that sci-fi?
that's sci-fi. It's definitely sci-fi.
It sounds sci-fi. Yeah.
And then Invisible Man was like, hey, this is like it feels like he was getting better with each movie, and he kind of like hit this sweet spot where, okay, the premise and the directorial style and everything kind of came together, and that's good.
It's a real shame that Elizabeth Moss didn't get recognized for her acting in that one this year, though.
That's a shame, especially since there was a lot less competition, because
Yeah, and she was awesome in that film. Oof, she really acted.
she's
good.
Yeah, she is a very good actress. She's great in Handmaid's Tale. So there you go. Coming up next time on the show.
This one doesn't have any 5-star or 10-star reviews, I mean, on IMDb.
Oh, I can have a look. I don't do it after this part though. Or in some cases, I just edit that section out, as I've done in like 2 episodes recently. So, and see.
Nothing happened.
Yeah, there's a big giant yawn. Big giant yawn. Yeah, so coming up next time, we got the vote winner that came up. This is the what did we just have? April. The April vote winner was a 2000s vote, and the winner was Cloverfield. So we'll be looking at the first Cloverfield film next time.
Cool.
Tara's going to pose for the thumbnail. So 3, 2, 1, pose. Okay, there you go. Wonderful. I'm probably just going to make you invisible and make it an outline anyway, but
Yes.
just as long as we can,
That is the right thing to do.
we get a sense of the shape
Ooh, I'll be the shape.
of your head. So, if you made this far out of the review, put the phrase skirts and stuff into the comments. And the question mark's important. Question mark's
It'd be better
important.
than the if more women were invisible, life would be much less complicated line.
Yeah, I don't think that man knows not what he says. That would not make things less complicated at all. It'd be a much more miserable looking place, I'll say that much. So yes, ladies, you can have that one for free. So yes, that was pretty much it. There you go. That's the show.
That's it.
That's
Thanks for joining us.
That's the thing. Yes, an hour-long discussion. I know it's weird on this show, but hey, occasionally it'll happen if the movie's not complex enough. So, thank you for joining us. Tara, would you like to promote anything else?
If you enjoy epic long-form storytelling of science fiction, please check out our Babylon 5 reviews. They're now the show is available on HBO now, HBO Max. So you can catch up and watch the show with us. We're working through it for the first time, and it's been fun.
Yep, go check that out. Otherwise, though, I'll just reiterate, go to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, or simply just hit like, subscribe, comment, rate us on the podcast apps and all that stuff. Get us on Twitter at mail_fuzz for channel updates. But otherwise, that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching science fiction and computer ad salsa.
And you're all the nicest visibles I've ever met.